Hello and welcome back to my Identify My Aesthetic series. I'm following up with another episode about what makes my perfect cardigan. So I'm looking back at some of the past cardigans I've made and identifying the things I like and dislike so I can bring that forward to start making cardigans and other knits that just really get at what I like the look of and the feel of. So let's get into it. Okay, hello, happy Sunday if you're watching this on the day I post it, or just happy weekday, whatever time it is. I hope you're having a great time. So as I mentioned in my introduction, I am going through my cardigans that I've made in the past and kind of reviewing them or rating them. To see what features from past cardigans I've made I really love and would like to bring forward, and what I would like to maybe not do in the future, or what makes something not as wearable. This is part of a larger effort that I've talked about a few times. I've made, my color analysis video in the past was kind of an effort within this as well, but essentially I'm really trying this year to identify what I really love in my knitwear and what is not so wearable to me. So in the past, I've fallen victim to, or not fallen victim, but just I've seen the styling of a cardigan on someone else or another piece of knitwear from sample images or other people's projects, and thought, like, that's beautiful, I want to make it, without really considering how it fits into my own life, my own body type, my own kind of aesthetic and stylings. So this year I'm really focusing on what will make something wearable for me, like fit into the life I live, where I work from home. I don't dress that fancy very often. I need things that can be very casual. I'm sensitive to certain fibers, so I want to keep that in mind. What really fits well on my body type. I'm kind of pear-shaped or more hourglass shaped, so I have to accommodate larger hips. Things like that are kind of why I'm now reviewing my knitwear. I did colors in the past to identify what colors do I want to knit with, narrow that palette down, and now I'm going into what things do I want to knit, what features do I want to have. I'm starting with cardigans simply because I have a lot more cardigans than I have any other knitwear pieces. So I have the 6 cardigans I've made in the past year and a half, and we're just going to go through them, talk about some of my favorite things about them, what I don't like about them, what I would change, and how I can implement that going forward. And so here's the first cardigan on. I will insert some full body clips so you can see what it actually looks like fully on, but here's the top of it. This is the Wrap Me Up cardigan by Plum Mum. And I knit it with 2 strands of CaMaRose Midnatssol in the color Grågron. I knit this in April of 2023, I believe, so over a year ago now, and it is still cute. You can see originally it's supposed to have, like, I think elbow length sleeves, and I was running out of yarn and just decided to do little kind of cap sleeves or just a shorter sleeve. So I modified it like that, but otherwise followed pattern. And then, yeah, it's a wrap cardigan. And yeah, I don't wear this one a ton just because, I don't know, I don't love the short sleeves, and it does gap open a lot at the front. Like, as I'm walking around in it, if I lean over it, kind of gaps open, and there's not a good way for me to prevent that. I think that's maybe because the wrap is pretty low down. Maybe if it was closer to my bust, it would keep the cardigan closed more. So that's something I'd consider changing in the future. But otherwise, I love the way it feels. I do like the silhouette of a wrap cardigan. I think that that's a good style for me because it has a little flare out at the bottom to accommodate larger hips if I make it longer, and cinches in at my waist. So I do like the silhouette of this piece. I think that maybe in the future I'd want to modify it to have the wrap up higher, and then I'd want longer sleeves, really. But I do love the feel of the CaMaRose Midnatssol. It's my favorite kind of mohair substitute to work with, and it's great on this project. All of the edging on this is I-cords. The button band, or it's not really a button band, it doesn't have buttons, but the band on the cardigan, I guess like the neckline or whatever you want to call that when it doesn't have buttons, but it serves the same purpose as a button band on a cardigan, is just ribbing. I maybe would have changed that in the future, but I like the fit of it. It's a raglan, and I remember finishing this and thinking it was amazing and the most wearable thing I've ever made, and it still feels really good on my body. It's still like the fabric's really nice. The length's really nice. It hits just kind of the top of my hip bone, which I love. And so overall, this, I don't think I'm actually going to rate them, but it has a high score. It's like, I'm not giving a number value. I'll talk about them and say like, oh, I really like it, higher score, but I'm not ranking anything. But yeah, overall, this is a nice piece. I think I don't wear it a lot because it's normally at the bottom of my knitwear pile. And it gaps open a lot. So you can see it's kind of already doing that here where it just wants to fall open. And even if I'm wearing something under it, I don't necessarily want my shirt to gape open as much. So if I can find a way to kind of make it stay closed more. I used to tie it shut, but then it kind of just gapped below or looked awkward with the tie. So even with that, I don't think I could change this cardigan, but for a future wrap cardigan, I think that I could salvage it and make it into something really great. So yeah, to take from this piece, I love the I-cord features. I love the idea of a wrap cardigan, and I love the fibers or the fabric. Things I need to change: where the wrap sits and maybe some of the details to make it a little more finished looking. So overall though, I like this piece. It was good for its time, and yeah, maybe I should make another wrap cardigan this year. It is a really nice piece. So something to consider for myself. All right, and here's the next cardigan that I've completed, and it is so beautiful, but it is so itchy. I have to make this pretty quick. I also changed the angle so you can see a little bit more, but I'll still insert some clips. But yeah, it's a really cropped cardigan. It doesn't even touch the top of my high-waisted leggings currently, and when you're moving around in it, it comes up a lot more. It looks really cute over a dress, but I can't stand the way it feels on my body, so it needs to be a long sleeve dress, and I don't own any long sleeve dresses. So unfortunately, this piece just isn't practical for me. This is the April cardigan by Petite Knit, and I knit it out of the Yarn Addict, who has now changed her name to Little Fiber Company, and in her free range fingering base, which is a non-superwash merino in the color Petal Perch. So one strand of that, which is fingering weight, and then a strand of the Drops Kid Silk Mohair in the color Powder. And it's made such a beautiful fabric. I think this is a beautiful color. It's beautiful. But yeah, I can't wear it on my body. It's just, I don't tolerate mohair well. So this was the cardigan that taught me that lesson. I used Drops Kid Silk Mohair once before, and maybe other mohairs would be fine, but I don't want to risk it. I'd rather just use Surrey instead because I know I tolerate that. So I learned my lesson with mohair on this one, and that is the biggest con. I also, despite it being beautiful and really do love the finishings, I think it looks so professional. It's too short for me. It's a little bit tight as well. Like, I think I want a little bit more ease. If I button it up, you'll see, the buttons don't even really want to fully go up, especially this top one just kind of pulls a little bit. And it fits. Like, I think it's the amount of ease that the garment suggests. Like, I think I knit this 2 pattern, and so it has the correct amount of ease here where it's still, got some room here. It's not zero ease, but I would prefer a little bit more ease on my cardigans, I think, since I normally wear them as a layering piece. And I don't really like it when the buttons are kind of pulling like this and making the button band not lay straight. So I would have liked to have made it longer and a little bit bigger. I was a little bit worried about running out of yarn, so I probably knit it too small, and then of course I cropped it quite severely. But yeah, I mean, I love the way it looks. It's beautiful, but I think maybe I should consider selling this to someone who can tolerate mohair a little bit better and is maybe a size smaller than me, or likes the way that this fits on me. My bust measurement is 37 inches for reference. So maybe I sell this piece and try to recreate something like it that's just longer, but I do really love the double knit button band. So yeah, maybe I have to re-knit an April cardigan. I think that the pattern's really nice, and it would be nice to have one that is longer and a little bit larger and not in a yarn that makes me itchy. But fit, overall great. Like, the ease is bad and the length is bad, but I like the kind of shoulder shaping and the shaping of the garment I really like. So yeah, I'm going to consider doing that in the future, but this was definitely a huge lessons learned cardigan for me, and part of why I wanted to film this video, to show like, look at this cardigan. I love the look of it. I love the way the tighter cardigans look on other people, but I cannot do it on myself. And the mohair was such a lesson learned. So yeah, poor rating, unfortunately, on this one for wearability. High rating on the way it looks. I think it's beautiful. But yeah, not wearable for me. And maybe I should consider selling it because I don't have the heart to frog it. I think it's so beautiful. I don't really want to repurpose the yarn for something else. I mean, I couldn't re-knit this with the same yarn because I don't have enough yarn to make it longer and wider. Can you also see that little shoulder thing it's doing? I think that all cardigans would really do that because the human body moves. But still, it's interesting. But yeah, maybe I consider selling this because I would love for someone else to really enjoy it. If you have experience, if you're watching and have experience with selling knit garments, let me know how you do that. Or if someone's interested in buying it off me, let me know. But yeah, I can't wear this one and I'm really sad every time I see it in my kind of knitwear pile. So I would love to give it a new life that's out of my house and knit something similar like it in the future. But okay, let's go on to the next one, which is hopefully happier. If you watch me regularly, you've seen this cardigan probably a million times. I wear it constantly. It's one of my favorite things I've ever made. It's so comfortable. It's a win in nearly every way. So this is the Athens cardigan by Manmi Choi on Ravelry, that's her name. On Instagram, she's Soop Knits, SOOP Knits. And yeah, it's a beautiful piece. I knit it with one strand of the Knitting for All of Merino in the colorway Copper, and then one strand of the Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk in the colorway Rust. And yeah, it gave me such a nice color. The two combined, I love it. It's like a nice subtle marling. I think it's beautiful, and the way it feels is stunning. Like, it's super light, keeps me warm, but just feels light and just like a good hug on my body. I love this cardigan. So lots of cables on it, as you can see, lots of texture. This is all moss stitch, and then it's a drop shoulder fit. So those are some of the basics about the cardigan. Generally, I love it. I love the oversized nature of it. Like, I forget the exact ease, but it's a fair amount of positive ease. I think, I don't know, I think that it might be 60 inches around. So it has like 20 to 30 inches of positive ease on me, which is a lot. And then, yeah, it is also, it goes just past my hip bone, which I think is my perfect length. I know that's still considered cropped for a lot of people, but I think that I really prefer garments that hit right around the hip bone, don't go too far into the butt or just too far down, just given that I do have wider hips. I don't want any of my garments to kind of hug my hips and then be loose on the rest of my body and create like a barrel shape. I'd rather they come before my hips or are super oversized and go over everything, but that's a lot of knitting. So I tend to just stop right around my hip bone so I don't have to deal with that. But yeah, wonderful cardigan. I will say the few things about it that I would like to keep in mind in the future and change in the future if I knit something like this again, or just any cardigan, keep it in mind, is this cardigan's a little bit oversized in the shoulders. I like the way it fits around my body, but I need more fabric here to cinch in a little bit more. I knit this off gauge, so my gauge was way too large, and not way too large, but it was a lot larger than the expected gauge. And I even went down a few needle sizes and then decided to just knit the smallest size in the pattern to get the ease I wanted. And that worked out really well for the bust measurement. It's perfect around my bust and my body, where just doing a different gauge doesn't really work is around the neck, both and like for this depth. So it's a little bit large around the neck to where, you know, if it's sitting, it sits a little past here and then has a tendency to want to slide down one shoulder or both, which means I fiddle with the garment a lot. You know, I can get it to sit nicely and look nice like this, but if I'm walking around in it or talking for a long time on it, I notice one shoulder starts to fall down, if not both of them. And you can also see the first button is here. I could have moved it up, but it's supposed to kind of hit where you stop doing increases, and that was all the way down here for me because my row gauge was different than the pattern. So that kind of changed things for me to where, you know, if the button was here, maybe this would cinch in a little bit more and keep things a little bit more closed. And so I could have maybe modified my button band to have my buttonhole up here, because now I can't do anything. I already have a buttonhole down here. And then maybe it would stick on my shoulders better, and I could wear it on its own a little bit more because it does fall all the way down here and you can see a sizable area of whatever shirt I'm wearing. And then if it falls off my shoulder, you know, I can't necessarily treat it as just a sweater on its own. I have to think about what I'm wearing with it underneath. And I prefer my cardigans to be able to kind of switch between either a normal pullover sweater where I'm just wearing it as my top and a layering piece where I'm wearing it open. And I can't really do that with this one because it does fall so far down. So in the future, with all my cardigans, and I've already implemented this with others, I knit this in October 2023, by the way. So about 6 months ago, I made this. Oh, and this one, the April cardigan, I don't think I said, I knit that in June, July 2023. So almost a year ago. But yeah, this one would make some changes, and I already have, to just make sure that with my cardigans, I am taking into account any row gauge changes and taking into account my first button sitting kind of right here, so that I can wear it as a top on its own, and to make sure that it's not too wide so that it falls off my shoulders. But otherwise, this cardigan is wonderful. I wear it very frequently. I wear it open a lot over other things. It's really cute over a dress. And yeah, I love it. The fabric, I would work with this fiber combination again. I think that it makes something that's super wearable for me. It does pill a little bit, but I don't care. That's fine. I own a shaver. And yeah, that's this cardigan. It's one of my biggest successes. So overall, highly rated, but some lessons learned on how to kind of modify my fit or ensure I'm getting the right fit in the future. And we are on to my Marissia cardigan. So this is the Marissia cardigan. It is by Rose. Her name is Alexandra Solowianiuk, but I always feel like I'm butchering it. So I usually use her Instagram title, and she goes by Rose on Ravelry as well. So Marissia cardigan, it's a very popular pattern, and I knit mine with 2 strands of Yarnalia Joy. It's a 100% baby alpaca in a lace weight in the colorway rose gold, and then 1 strand of Fyberspates Cumulus, which is a kind of Surrey alpaca silk blend. And it has made such a beautiful fabric on its own. I think it's wonderful fabric. I have noticed a few things about the fabric. This pattern was originally intended to be knit with 1 strand of a DK weight yarn in a wool, and using the alpaca has made it a lot drapier and a lot foldier. I don't know if that's the right word, but you can kind of see like it folds in on itself a lot more, and it's just more prone, I think, to kind of collapsing or being kind of bubbly. When I'm wearing it, I think I'm using horrible descriptors, but hopefully you get it, where it's very foldy, like it kind of bubbles. And of course wool sweaters do that too, but I think it's just more pronounced in the alpaca because it is drapier, it's going to collapse in on itself a little bit more. So I guess I'm already starting off with the criticisms of the sweater. I do really love it. I think that the fit here around my neck, of course the mic is kind of dragging it down on this side, but when it doesn't have a microphone, it sits like this. I think that that's beautiful. I love the silhouette, and then it kind of comes open. It's a nice raglan as well, and I love the way the raglan looks. So overall, I do really love this piece. I have learned, I thought, and I was kind of talking about this with the Athens cardigan, where I like to be able to wear my cardigans both as tops on their own and then as layering pieces. And I can't really wear this one as a top on its own either. I can button it up, but I just don't really like the way it looks just buttoned up. The buttons are really tiny and there's a lot of them, so I don't feel like doing it again. But if it's just buttoned up like this, I just don't think it looks that great. I think that the drapiness of the alpaca kind of makes it look bubbly or moves it around a lot and isn't that, appealing when it's buttoned up to me. I prefer wearing it open over something, which kind of limits how I can wear this and how often I do wear it, because I have to consider not only what do I want to wear on the top, but what do I want to wear, underneath, and that in the morning when I'm trying to just get to work feels like a lot sometimes. So I don't end up wearing this piece a lot. It is also pretty formal. I think that you can play it down, but with this silhouette, it just feels very official. I did also knit this one, if I didn't already mention, in November of 2023, and I knit it specifically to wear to the Nutcracker Ballet. So it's a little bit dressier than some of my other things because I knit it to wear to a ballet. So it makes sense that it's dressier, and maybe it doesn't fit as well in my everyday working from home, wearing leggings and a workout top because I'm doing a workout class later or going on a walk later outfits. I can't just throw it on something like that. I have to think a little bit more about like, oh, I have, a nice kind of lacy pink tank top. Let's wear that with this, and maybe a skirt, something like that to elevate it a little bit more, because it does feel kind of awkward over just a simple workout top and leggings, although that's what I'm wearing over it now, and you'll see in the B-roll or the footage I inserted the full outfit. And I guess it's okay, but yeah, it's just a little bit dressier than what I normally wear, and this was a really good lesson for me in fibers, and really the differences in the fibers and how much I really need to think about that, because it is the pretty much 100% alpaca. There's a tiny bit of silk content in this, but it's almost exclusively an alpaca jumper, and it's drapey, and that's not always a good thing, with the bubbliness and things like that. So it's worth considering in the future. Maybe I love working with alpaca. I think it's a beautiful yarn, but maybe I need to pair it with a wool to have a little bit more structure in my pieces so I don't get this final kind of bubbliness that, I don't know, I feel like you're not going to know what I'm talking about because I am wearing it open right now, but tucking it into pants specifically makes it just kind of bubble in on itself. It doesn't kind of balloon out. It just kind of collapses in, which I don't love. So worth considering in the future, but I like the length of this. It also hits kind of right at my hip bone. The sleeves are perfect length. They hit right at kind of my wrist bone. And they're balloon sleeves as well. A pretty subtle balloon sleeve, but I like the way that looks. And the pattern is beautiful. I love like a subtle pattern on a jumper, and I think that the raglan is wonderful. I just love the way raglans fit me. I prefer to knit raglans in pullovers, tees, like whatever I'm working on, I like a raglan the best. So that works well for me. And overall, I do really love this piece. It's a little bit more formal than I can really manage every day, so need some more casual pieces, but it is nice to have something that's a little bit dressier in my knit wardrobe as well. So overall, this is like a mixed bag. Overall positive, but good lesson in fibers and good lesson in what really fits into my day-to-day wardrobe. So here we go. And here is my next cardigan that I finished in March of 2024. So this is a pretty recently finished object. And it is the November jacket by Petite Knit. And I knit it with We Are Knitters Happy Chain yarn in bunch of different colors. Colors don't really matter because then I ended up dyeing it dark brown with Rit dye. The Happy Chain yarn was discontinued, so it was originally I knit this in a lot of pink, but then the yarn was discontinued and I was running out of yarn, and I had a ball of gray, a ball of blue, and a ball of white, and so I used those on the ends to get to the end of my cardigan, and then just dyed it all brown at the end to make it look a little bit more consistent. So this piece, I surprisingly really love the color. I'd never knit something in brown before this, and I love it. My hair has been, I used to dye my hair either red or blonde in the past, and I'm letting it kind of be its natural color more, which is more of a brunette or brown hair. And I like the way it looks a lot with the brown hair. I actually really want to knit more things in brown in the future because I just think it's a nice, like, calming or centering color for my complexion and my hair color. I think it just, like, yeah, calms me. Like, I don't know. Yeah, makes me feel more balanced or centered in my outfits. So I really like that about brown. And then this piece itself, it's all over brioche. And then with the button band or the double knitted features on kind of the placket here. I want to call it a button placket, but again, there's no buttons, but the front placket maybe is what you call it. And it's also on the cuffs and then the hem of the sweater. I really love this piece as well. I kind of knit it to be very casual and just something to keep in my office and throw on during meetings. If I'm, working a tank top and need something to throw on, or just when I'm cold to have it nearby to pop on. And it serves that purpose well. It is a drop shoulder construction. And sometimes with drop shoulder cardigans, I find that is a pretty serious trapezoid shape. It's almost a triangle in the back. And I find that sometimes with that, then it pulls down a lot more in the back. So sometimes I don't love that because then I feel like the front is sitting higher than I'd like because it's getting pulled in the back. And so the shoulders are getting pulled. So that's something about the fit that I'm not totally crazy about. I prefer, I guess, a wider neck. It's not just a drop shoulder thing. I think it's the fact that it's such a triangular shaping in the back to where it then pulls my neck down, and I would like a little bit more room between the shaping where it's just flat for my neck and my shoulders to really sit, if that makes sense. So that's one thing that I would maybe change or consider in similar constructed cardigans in the future, is to just widen this space a little bit more. And then, it's an Aran weight, so it's kind of a heavy sweater. And one thing that I didn't really consider about that is the sleeves here. They're also a balloon sleeve, and they, when my arm is straight, go all the way over my thumb. But when I'm working and going through, day-to-day world, I'm not walking around all day like this. When I'm talking and working, it bunches up. And I think every sleeve, every cardigan's going to do that. It's not just because it's a heavier weight or because it's also a balloon sleeve, but it does bunch up a lot here. And then sometimes it kind of seems like it wrinkles that. I don't love that. I don't really know if that's something that I could change in the future, but it's something I want to consider. But again, this cardigan hits right at my hip bones. I clearly have a preference here, and we'll continue making that length. And yeah, it's a simple piece. It took me so long. So that's something maybe I want to avoid in the future, is doing a brioche cardigan on US 4 needles, because it takes a really long time. But I do really love the finished object. It's nice and warm, easy to throw on. It feels casual. I think that this one embodies like fitting into my day life because I can throw this on over anything, especially with the brown color. It goes with pretty much everything. So I overall love this piece. The fit of it is nice and casual. I wish it had enough yarn for pockets. It was supposed to have pockets and I just didn't have the yarn for it. But I had also kind of worried about the pockets pulling and maybe changing the fit as well. So it's good and bad that it doesn't have the pockets, but yeah, that's this November jacket. And wow, I only have one cardigan left, so let me change into that. All right, and here's my final cardigan. I'm in love with it, and yeah, I finished it very, very recently. I finished it last week. So in May 2024, I started it in April. And I'm in love. It's the Eva cardigan by Petite Knit, and I knit it with the Apothecary Fiber Co. She's since closed her shop, but Apothecary Fiber Co. Druid DK base, which is a 100% superwash merino base. And I knit it in the colorway Dust Bunny, which is just a really nice kind of gray, beige, grayish colorway. So the things about this cardigan that make it something that I love, of course, part of this is like the newness bias. This is my newest thing I've finished. Of course, I'm going to love it the most. But I think I did really take some of the lessons I learned from other cardigans to heart on this project. And we will see what other lessons come out of this one after I've worn it a little bit. Of course, it's only been done for a week. I haven't been able to wear it every day or things like that. It needs some more wear to really determine what could be improved on it. But generally, I think I nailed it. So the things that I love that I've kind of talked about with other cardigans. First of all, the buttons, when fully closed up, I can wear this just as a top on its own. You see a tiny bit of my top here, but if I just wear a bra under it, I still feel fully covered, which is amazing. The buttons are also really securely in here, which is nice, and it lays flat when it is closed up because it has a nice amount of ease. So that is great. It's also kind of this is a saddle shoulder, I believe. I'll have to double check if it is the saddle shoulder. Actually, no, it's not a saddle shoulder, but it's kind of a combination between a drop shoulder and a raglan. So you start with different panels of, the back, the right shoulder, the left shoulder, and then you bring it all together and work it as a raglan from there. So I think that it sits really nicely because it has this flat here where it's just little kind of wedges to sit on your shoulders and on your back. And it's wide enough in the back to where it doesn't pull down at all. Like there's enough flat back here for it to just sit nicely. So to here, it works flat. And then you pick up here as well and then work it as a raglan. And I think that that gives a really nice shape where it follows the line of my arm really well, or not my arm, but like my armpit, almost like it. No, it does follow the line of my arm. Like the raglan line here is really closely following my arm, which I think just looks nice. It's my preferred look, but also it sits really nice and flat like a drop shoulder does, a well-designed drop shoulder, I should say. So I really like the fit of it. I also, again, knit this to just hit my hip bone, which I think that is my preferred length. I'm going to continue doing that in the future. It just gives me the perfect length to wear over a pair of pants and feel fully covered because I generally wear high-waisted pants. So it gives me a few inches of overlap between my pants and my cardigan. But I can also wear this over a dress. I just don't love the look of a super long sweater or super long cardigan over a dress. I prefer it to kind of sit near waist length, maybe a little bit longer. If I'm going to layer this cardigan or another sweater over a dress or even a skirt, I just want it to kind of at least be close to my waist, not go over my hips. And this can do both. So it can be both a top and it layers really well over a dress and a sweater. So I love that about it. I also love the finishings. I think that it is kind of this perfect elevated casual where, it's 2x2 rib, which I always just think looks more cozy and classic. And yeah, it to me feels more casual to have a 2x2 rib. The finishing here is also just a normal bind off, but it adds kind of this braided look that I think is really, really nice. It just, I don't know, it looks really nice. It makes it feel a little bit elevated, but also makes it feel more casual if you are a knitter, because you know that I just did a normal, like, knit 2 stitches, pass the stitch over, do that over and over. Like, that's what this bind off is. But I think that, so it adds this casual element to it, but also, I don't know, it looks braided, it looks nice. So overall, I think that this perfectly nails being casual while also being kind of elevated and making me feel put together when I wear it, even if it's just over leggings and a workout top. The one thing that I would change about this is at the end here, the button band does not perfectly align with the rest of the cardigan. You pick this up at the end, and I don't know, just the way I picked it up means it kind of pulls in a little bit from, let's try to get up. Yeah, it pulls in a little bit above the cardigan, and I don't love that, but it's right at the bottom, so it's not that big of a deal. And I don't even know how I can fix that in the future. Maybe I just need to pick up an extra stitch at the very, very bottom. If you have advice on that, let me know. I'd love to see maybe how I could fix that on the future with other button bands. But yeah, I mean, it's really hard to tell what is a con on this sweater because I have newness bias with it, and I do think that I listened to a lot of the lessons from other cardigans to work on this one. So it's my favorite cardigan to date. We'll see if, in a few months I'm back and say, this is wrong with it, this is wrong with it. But for now, I like it. I will say I'm concerned about it pilling because it is just superwash merino. But I kind of knew it was going to pill a lot. It's already kind of doing that, and I've worn it like 3 times maybe. So it's going to pill, but that's okay. That's why I own a fabric shaver. But yeah, these are the 6 cardigans I've made in the past year and a half. I've made a few as much earlier beginners that I didn't really feel like talking through today. These are just the 6 cardigans that I've made as someone following more patterns and being more thoughtful, like not just from a kit or not just my very first project. So these were the patterns that I really wanted to talk through for cardigans. I think, looking at everything, I clearly have a length I prefer, and I will continue going forward with that length in the future. I want to double check the ease on this cardigan because I think that this is kind of my perfect amount of ease. So I want to identify more cardigans in the future that I can knit with this bust circumference. I also will continue to look for raglans and be careful with drop shoulders to make sure there is enough room for my neck and shoulders so it doesn't slide off down my back, but also that it's not too wide to then slide off my shoulders. So there's kind of a perfect middle ground where it's hitting right here, and want to have all of that in mind for my future cardigan projects. I love cardigans. I think that they're the most versatile thing for me, so I knit a lot of them and will continue to do so. So hopefully in the next, few months, you'll see some really great cardigans from me where I've really taken some of these lessons, some of my favorite features from other cardigans, and can bring them forward. So I think this has really helped me to narrow down the certain features of cardigans that I like and want to bring forward, and what I want to make sure I'm changing or keeping in mind in the future. So thank you for watching. I hope it's going to be helpful for you if I'm talking through some things that I've made and how I could improve them or what I really love about them. Hopefully that's helpful for you to think about the same things for yourself. Knitting is also a hobby and a thing to do, and you don't need to knit every single thing to then wear all the time. It's also a process, and you can just enjoy knitting and gift something or display your knits. Like, you don't have to wear them if you just want to knit something because you want to knit it. That's also perfectly valid. But for me, I think I'm really considering this year how I can knit things that I enjoy the process of, but also actually wear a lot. So we're getting further and further on that. I think every month this year I've made something where I'm like, oh, I would 100% wear this, and I've been wearing it. So that's wonderful. I want to bring that forward, and hopefully this video and future videos like it and, the color analysis I've done in the past help me do that, and hopefully help you think through that for yourself as well, if that's, what you want out of your knitting. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again next week. Okay, bye.